Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mizuho Week Ahead. I am Jingyi, market economist at Mizuho Bank. The theme for the upcoming week is policy doubts and geopolitical hawks. We will first start off with a quote from Alice in Wonderland. "Has some wine?" the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. "I don't see any wine," Alice remarked. "There isn't any," said the March Hare. Well, the March madness endures. Markets are getting high on wine that might not be there, or at the very least the intoxication with notions of dovish convergence, which to be fair are not unwarranted, but may be blindsided by geopolitical aggravations. Yields have swung about wildly, with recent downswing partly eroding some of the pickup since February. Although most of this recent pullback has been on global policy pivot expectations, BOJ rate hikes and Fed hold with hawkish economic revisions have been interpreted to be dovish. Sticky inflation, it appears, is not really a sticking point for policy pivot. Some, like the Bank of England, have made this explicit. Others, such as the Fed, are increasing alluding to a lower hurdle to cut. The resulting conspiracy of dovish policy convergence squares with risk-on bullish bonds. But flaring conflict risks with geopolitical hawks taking center stage warn that bond market rallies entailing softer yields may take on a distinct risk of flavour, and that underlies a truly mad march, where unfettered risk-on surges on Wall Street initially defied sticky inflation before leaning into dovish policy hues, but now confronts risk-off despite perceptions of a dovish inflection in global policy as geopolitical hawks threaten to overtake. And this resonates much further than just Russia and Gaza, where temperatures are rising. Watching Russian response in Ukraine and perhaps beyond into the Middle East remains a case of a wide open field, ripe for being blindsided. Meanwhile, rising diplomatic tensions over Rafah in Gaza means that scope for political miscalculations and attendant volatility are heightened. To be sure, Beijing has inadvertently stumbled into this arena where policy doubts are challenged by geo-economic hawks. The CNH slump late last week speaks volumes on this. On one hand, scope for policy stimulus appears to be raising hopes in some camps. A surge in credit growth is certainly at the sharp end of policy stimulus hopes, and Premier Li Qiang has also alluded to having the capacity to push out more policy stimulus. But the PBOC removing renminbi backstop from its tightly controlled daily onshore CNY fixing, resulting in a massive drop in the offshore CNH, speaks volumes of sharp policy trade-off. Two things stand out. First, and most conspicuous, is the fact that the semblance of CNH stability has been heavily reliant on PBOC support, which implicitly trades off the ability to ease policy. Second, despite textbook policy space to cut rates on deflation, the CNH is unduly under stress, defying the additional buffer that ought to be expected from a current account surplus. And this arguably reflects the geopolitical and geo-economic pressures on the CNH. So even as policy doubts sweeten the ground, geopolitical hawks caution against complacency. This is a situation where opportunism and fear collide, and one in which risk-on is unlikely to thrive, whilst bets against the dollar and other haven assets will remain an exercise in restraint. Elsewhere, Malaysia's steady inflation masks policy dilemma, while Singapore's inflation pickup overstates scope for policy response. One way or another, Beijing's policy geopolitical buy will undermine AHJ, including ringgit and Sing dollar, and caution could rule the roost for the time being. Sometimes, if you don't see any wine, it may be because there isn't any, regardless of the temptation to have some. With that, we have come to the end of the video. For more information on the key events for the next week, please refer to our Week Ahead publication or contact your respective sales desk and RMs. And for regular notifications on our market views, Please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button. Thank you and bye-bye.